Okay, Rafa, yesterday we were just about to start talking about the difference between how much and how many. Grammatically speaking, there's a difference between these words. We say how much with what's called an uncountable noun. Are you familiar with the concept of an uncountable noun?
Yes.
All right, so you would ask questions like these. Do you want to read these three examples for me?
How much sugar do you need? How much water do you need? How much flour do you need?
So the answer to a question like this is going to be some type of measurement, right? So try to ask me these again, Rafa.
How much sugar do you need? I need
a teaspoon of sugar.
I need a teaspoon of, to you.
Yeah, I'm answering. You ask the questions, I'll answer them.
Okay. How much water do you need?
I need 3 cups of water.
How much flour do you need?
I need 1/3 of a cup of flour. All right, now, how many is used before a countable noun? Read these 3 examples, Rafa.
How many eggs do you want? How many measuring cups do you have? Oh, how many measuring cups? Yeah, I understand. How many measuring cups do you have? How many napkins do we need?
Right, good. So notice that the noun that follows how many comes in the plural form, right? Mm-hmm. Again, here we're going to typically answer with, well, slightly different because we're not answering with a measurement. This time we're going to answer just with a number, right? So now try to ask me these questions again.
How many eggs do you want?
I want 6 eggs. How do I get 6? There we go.
Wow. How many measuring cups do you have?
I have 2 measuring cups.
How many napkins do we need?
We need 4 napkins. All right, good job, Rafa. Very good. So try and fill in the blanks here based off of what you see. How much or how many?
We need some tea. How much tea do we need? How much do we need? Okay. How many do we need? How much?
Read the full sentence
do we need?
Because I'm not. You have to read this. I'm listening for your prompt here.
Okay.
So number 2.
We need some eggs. We need some eggs. How many do we need? We need some paper. How much do we need? We need some money. How much do we need? How many cigarettes do you smoke a day? How many packets of cigarettes do you normally buy? How much work have you got to do? How much sleep did you get last night? How many children have you got? How many bottles of wine are there in the cellar? How much English grammar do you know? How many American friends do you have? How much sugar do you take in your coffee? How many apples do you eat in an average week? How much vegetable do you eat in an average week?
How many, right? Because vegetables is plural.
Is plural.
Vegetables is plural. 1 vegetable, 2 vegetables, 3 vegetables. So vegetables is plural, so you need to say how many before vegetables.
How many pairs of shoes do you own? How many chairs are there in your house? How many furniture do you have?
Furniture, there's a disconnection between Spanish and English here. Furniture in English is always singular. It's an uncountable noun, so you'd have to say how much furniture.
Okay. How much furniture do you have? How much traffic was there on the freeway today? How much time must I tell you to stop jumping on the bed?
Careful on number 20, Rafa. Is it time or times?
Okay. How many times, yes, must I tell you to stop jumping on the bed?
Good. Hi, Claudia.
Morning.
Hi, Claudia.
Claudia, can you tell us about processed foods in the United States?
Okay. Most food items in the grocery stores are processed foods. This means they may contain added chemicals, contain added salt or sugar, be unhealthy. What can you do? Avoid canned, boxed, prepared food. Buy organic, natural cooked food from scratch using fresh ingredients.
Very good. Any questions about that? All right, let's get into the verb be. First, a quick review of the present tense, because today we're going to learn the past tense. So remember, the verb be is an irregular verb in the present tense and it has 3 possible conjugations, right? I am, you are, we are, they are, he is, she is, it is. Take turns with these questions. Rafa to Claudia.
Where are you?
I am in my house. Where are your children?
They are working now. Where is your dad?
He is in Mexico.
Good. Keep going, Rafa.
I am at the movies right now.
My mom is very happy when I give her presents.
My parents are on vacation this month.
My favorite band is at the Pepsi Center tonight.
You are at a school.
She is one of the best singers ever.
They are at the game winning the championship.
You are amazing.
Thank
All
you.
right, very good. Okay, so remember we use the verb be to talk about emotions. These are just some examples we're going to go through here. Take turns asking each other these questions.
How are you?
I am happy. How are you?
I am sad. How are you?
I am exciting.
Excited.
Excited. How are you?
I am bored. How are you?
I am tired.
Here we're looking for depressed.
I am depressed. Okay, how are you?
I am in love. How are you?
I am tired. How are you?
I am excited.
Yeah,
Uh,
could be here. We have
energetic.
awake or energetic. Okay, good. How is James? He is in love. All right, so let's just practice the third person real quick. Take turns with these.
Yours. Oh, how is yours, Chloe?
Your clone is happy. How is Von Miller?
Bon is angry.
Could be. Here it looks more like sad, angry, but okay.
How is Justin Timberlake?
Justin is excited. How is Homer?
Homer is born. How is Mark Anthony?
Mar is, I don't know, depressed.
Oh.
How is Jennifer Lopez?
Jennifer is in love. How is Carrie Underwood?
She's excited.
Here again, we have awake or energetic.
How is
How
Barack
is-
Obama?
Barack is sleeping.
Barack is what?
Is born or sleep
Bored or could be bored. Here we have tired or sleepy.
or sleepy.
All right, now let's go into the past tense. The past tense, believe it or not, is a little easier. We only have two possibilities, right? So we're essentially combining the first person with the third person in the past tense. Okay, so repeat after me. I was.
I
was.
was.
He was.
He was.
She was.
She was.
It was.
It was.
David was.
David was.
You were.
You were.
We were.
We were.
They were.
They were.
So, if we have the present tense, I am happy today. The past tense would be, I was sad last night. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Right? So, this is what it would look like, right? Rafael, how were you last week?
I was excited last week.
All right. Take turns asking each other these questions.
How were you? Claudia.
How were you yesterday?
I was happy yesterday. How were you yesterday?
I was tired yesterday. Oh, I'm sorry. I was sad. How were you yesterday?
I was excited yesterday. How were you yesterday?
I was born. How were you last week?
I was depressed last week. How were you last week?
I was in love. How were you this morning?
I was tired this morning. How were you this morning?
I was awake, energetic.
Good. In the third person, if you're asking about another person, There's no change really. How was, Claudia, how was James last year?
He was in love.
All right, so now take turns with these. Claudia,
How-
Joanna, go ahead.
How was George Clooney?
George was happy. How was Von Miller after the last game?
Bone was sad. How was Justin Timberlake at the Grammys?
Justin was happy.
Excited, but happy. We'll take happy.
How was Homer last night?
Homer was sad. Bored.
Was bored.
How was Mark after his breakup with Jennifer?
Mark was depressed. How was Jennifer when she met someone new?
Jennifer was in love. How was Carrie at her concert?
Carrie was excited.
Again, we have energetic or awake, but excited is fine.
How was Barack this morning before his coffee?
Barack was tired or sleepy.
All right. How were we last class, Rafa? Rafael?
We were excited to learn English.
All right. Take turns asking each other these questions.
How were we at 10 o'clock this morning?
Where we were learning or happy this morning. How we were at 10 o'clock last night.
Try that again, Rafa. You read it backwards.
How were we at 10 o'clock last night?
Where we
We were.
we were
So just real quick, just like in the present tense, in the past tense, the answer is backwards from the question, right?
okay.
First,
What-
were we? When we answer, we say we were. So
Were.
we
It's
were.
like what is the pronunciation in were or where? Donde?
You just said it.
Yeah.
That was perfect pronunciation. This
Okay.
word is were. Yeah.
It's like work, it's like work, no work.
Not where, were.
Okay, were, okay. We were sleepy
Good.
at 10 o'clock last night. Our classmate arrived last class with a bottle of wine to share. How were we?
We were happy. How were we the night before our wedding?
We were sleepy. How were we? How were we the day after our trip to Las Vegas?
We were excited. We were waiting at the day AV for 1 hour. How were we?
We were born. Our favorite team was losing the game last Sunday. How were we?
We were sad. Ready, teacher?
All right. So now, again, if we're talking about they, other people, how were, Claudia, how were your coworkers yesterday?
They were tired.
Take turns with these questions.
How were your coworkers yesterday?
They were happy yesterday. How were your children last night?
They were sleepy last night. How were your parents when you last saw them?
They were happy. How were your friends when you last went out with them?
They were happy. How were your siblings at the last family get together?
They were happy.
Okay, fill in the blanks here.
I was at the movies last night.
My mom was very happy when I gave her a present.
My parents were on vacation last month.
My favorite band was at the Pepsi Center last week.
You was at school. Oh,
You were, Claudia.
you were at school.
She was one of the best singers ever.
They were at the game when they won the championship.
You were amazing.
Take turns with these.
I was at
You.
the park yesterday. Where were you?
I was at work. Were you at work this morning?
Yes, I work in my work this morning.
I was
I was
at
was
work.
at work this morning. Where were you on July 4th last year?
I were in Denver on July 4 last year. Where were you for Christmas last year?
I was in Denver for Christmas last year. Where were you and your family last weekend?
We were at the park last weekend. What was the weather like yesterday?
It was the weather.
Don't, if you say it, don't say the weather. It was.
Okay, it was windy yesterday. I was with my girlfriend last night. Where were you last night?
I was at home last night.
Oops. Here we go. Okay. Take turns with these questions.
When do you work?
I work at 10 a.m. Do you like your job?
Yes, I like my job. Do you want to change your job?
Yes, I want to change my job. Do you practice English at work?
No, I don't practice English at the work. Would you like a more glamorous job?
Yes, I like a more glamorous job. Do you work in an office?
Yes, sometimes I work in my office. Where do you work?
I work in Amazon. When do you plan to retire?
Uy. uh, I think I need I need work many years. Do you have a good bus?
No, I don't have a good boss. She is tricky. What was your first job?
My first job is my first job, or I was
It depends on what you're going to say, Claudia. I don't know what you're going to say,
my first job.
pero tiene que seguir con el pensamiento porque hasta ahora no has dicho nada, ¿no? Es que no sé qué vas a decir. No puedo decirte lo que vas a decir si yo no sé lo que te vas a decir.
Okay, my
Dilo
first,
sin pena y si te tengo que corregir, te voy a corregir, pero...
okay, my first job was at a restaurant.
Ok, perfecto. ¿Por qué tienes una duda? Si contestaste, perfecto.
Okay. And what do your children want to be?
They want to be a doctor. What do you think of romantic relationship at work?
I think is bad. It's no good.
Okay, good job. All right, let's talk about immigration for a little bit here, okay? So this is from a couple of years ago. At this point, it's now 4 years old, but immigration is still a huge topic of concern here in the United States. Okay, so let's just take turns reading this. Rafa, can you start with us? Start with this article.
Migrant caravan. One reason Central Americans are going all the way to Tijuana to reach the US border, El Chapo. Large groups of Central American migrants are traveling north through Mexico. Defining President Trump, although Trump has described the group as invaders, those making the journey are unarmed, and many are women and children who say their goal is to seek asylum in the United States. We have been tracking the caravans advance from Mexico and US, preparation for their arrival at the border.
Good. Do you remember this when this happened? This
Yes.
was all over the news. It was a big.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Claudia.
What you need to know, several hundred members of the first caravan have arrived in Tijuana, and thousands more are expected to arrive in the coming days. The Pentagon has deployed nearly 6,000 troops to the border in anticipation of the caravan's arrival. The Trump administration will deny asylum to anyone who crosses the border illegally, urging migrants to come to ports of entry.
Rafa.
Last week, after caravan members recuperated recuperated for several days at a Mexico City sports complex. They held a vote. The group opted to travel all the way to Tijuana, Mexico's largest border city, instead of taking a much shorter road toward the Rio Grande Valley of South Texas. So why would they decide to go more than twice as far to reach the US border? The simplest explanation is that the activist group guiding the caravan, Pueblos Sin Fronteras, People Without Borders, had a strong support network in California and a sanctuary state where local officials and courts are more sympathetic to migrants.
Good. Claudia.
But there's another idiosyncratic reason. The caravan is going all the way to Tijuana. Its reputation as a safe route where migrants are
Safer
less
route. It's not a safe route, it's a safer route. Safer route. Up here, Claudia. This is what we are learning yesterday with our comparative safer.
Saber route. Saber.
No, there's no
No?
B. Claudia, look at the word. Safe. You said
Safe.
safe. It's safer. All I'm trying to say is you did not pronounce the R. Safer.
Saber.
No,
Safe.
I don't know why you're putting a B in there. There's no B. It's an
Okay.
F.
Saber. Safe. Safe. Save. Saver. No? Can you repeat?
Safer.
Safer.
It's an F, Claudia. Yeah, you just said it the right way. Safer.
Yeah. Okay. Safe. Safer. Safer. Road where migrants are less vulnerable to the kidnapping, gangs, and extortionists that prey on Central Americans. This has to do, in no small part, with the legacy of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the indicted Mexican drug.
Indicted. That word is pronounced
Indicted Mexican drug kingpin, House federal grand jury began this week in New York.
Rafa.
Over nearly 3 decades, Guzman built the Sinaloa drugs cartel into the world's wildest and most powerful trafficking organization. And despite his capture, the Sinaloa group continues to dominate the most lucrative drug smuggling route along Mexico's Pacific coast and into California, including the grand jewel of the North American narcotics trade, the San Isidro port of entry, which is also the destination for the migrant caravan. Migrant.
Claudia?
Connecting Tijuana to California, San Isidro is the world's busiest border crossing, receiving nearly 100,000
Good.
northbound vehicles and pedestrians a day. It is also the single
Largest
largest gateway
gateway.
for high value narcotics into the United States, accounting for nearly half of the hard drugs, heroin, cocaine, fentanyl, and methamphetamine seized along the entire board, smuggled mostly in fake vehicular compartments.
Rafa.
Under Guzman, Sinaloa waged sanguinary warfare against its rivals, eventually winning control of the entire western portion of the US-Mexico border. But Sinaloa became so dominant in the North American drug trade that the criminal groups along Mexico eastern border opposite Texas developed a different criminal portfolio, especially starting in the late 2000s in order to complete.
Good. Claudia.
The two most powerful groups there, the Gulf Cartel, and is now diminished, but is still dreaded rival, Los Zetas, were overshadowed and outsmarted by Guzman in the drug trade, so they looked to diversity into other sources of revenue. Central American migration to the United States was increasing, and these groups saw tens of thousands of Honduras, Guatemalans, and Salvadorians passing through areas under their control to reach the Rio Grande. Many were riding on freight trains and buses. It wasn't hard to find them.
In 2010, Los Zetas kidnapped and massacred 72 migrants on a remote ranch and our south of the US border, an act of horrifying the private with a ruthless business objective. The group was determined to extract profit from every migrant and smuggling guide passing through its territory. Anyone who didn't pay risked kidnapping, torture, and death. And those who didn't pay enough could be abducted and held for ransom until relatives living in the United States handed over their life savings. They knew that almost everyone he ignored had a relative or loved one financing the journey.
Very good.
This sordid state of affairs never fully developed along Mexico's Pacific coast and the areas under the control of Guzman Sinaloa cartel. The Sinaloans go sometimes adduct John Min and impress them into service as drug mules, fighting them with marijuana stuffed backpacks for a grueling trek through the Arizona desert. But some Central Americans viewed this as a mutually beneficial arrangement, a free kitten trip into the United States was the price for carrying Sinaloa brick wood.
You will also hear from many Mexicans that El Chapo was a drug keeping who lived by a code, like the Sicilian I don't know,
Bosses.
bosses, a tunnel digging, meth making, cocaine shipping mastermind, and a killer, certainly, but not a monster who kidnapped and butchered humble Central American migrants. So when it came time last week for a caravan of members to pick between a shorter road to Texas or a much longer on one to Tijuana, they choose the latter. One leads to the migrant version of Mordor. The other is merely dangerous.
Take turns asking each other these questions.
What do you think are the main reasons for the immigrant caravan coming to the United States?
The question is for me?
Of course. Who else is here?
For you? Well, I think the main reason for the immigrant caravan coming to the United States is because those people want more job opportunities in the United States. What do you think of the way the U.S. press reports?
I want to go back there. Job opportunities for sure. But this article was also talking specifically about people coming from Central America, where it's not just job opportunities. Some are looking for asylum here, right? Because it's very dangerous. There's a lot of crime. So it's not just because of job opportunities. It's also trying to escape the crime, I think. The gangs. The bad guys. Okay, go ahead, Rafa. Number 2 to Claudia.
But I have some commentary because what do you think about the drugs problem, for example?
What do I think about the drug problem?
With the cartel, with what this cartel are so powerful?
Money. That's
money.
easy. Money.
Yes, money. But the problem is this problem concern to the both country. No?
Of course.
Of course, because here in the United States, there are many drugs consumer.
Americans are big consumers of drugs.
Okay? And if in America, if America don't have consumer, then the status the Chapo, and everything didn't exist. Okay, didn't exist.
Sure.
Okay, the problem is for the to prove. United States need to control the consumer, and of course Mexico need to control the cartel. But the problem is for both,
Of
not
course.
only Mexico, because some people in the United States think that the problem is Mexico. No, it's Mexico, because if you eliminate the cartel in Mexico only, but the consumer exists in the United States, the drugs come from other country.
In my opinion, Rafael, as long as people are people, they're going to want to use drugs, right? Whether that's alcohol or nicotine or
Yeah.
marijuana or cocaine or meth or whatever it is, people like to use drugs. People like to use drugs. People like to change their state of reality. Rafael, there was a long period of there was a period of time in the United States called Prohibition, where they made alcohol illegal.
Yes.
And when they made alcohol illegal, the American mafia was born. Organized crime started when they stopped alcohol.
Yes.
Did people stop wanting alcohol? No. Did people stop using alcohol? No. Because of that reason, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, but the only way, what you're saying is make people stop using drugs. How do you do that? You can't change the way people are. People like to use drugs. The only way to eliminate things is to legalize it.
Yes, I agree.
Like they just did with marijuana in Colorado not too long ago, right?
I agree.
There,
I agree with you.
There used to be a lot of crime related to marijuana. Now there's no crime related to marijuana. Now we have crime related to cocaine and heroin and this new drug, fentanyl. As long as they are illegal, there's going to be crime, and there's going to be cartels and organized criminals that profit off of it, right? Now, how do you legalize cocaine? That's a tough one because it's a bad drug. It's a very bad drug. A lot of people would make the argument marijuana is not really a bad drug because it really doesn't harm anybody. And in fact, the science has come out that it can help a lot of people with a lot of issues. So what's the argument for legalizing cocaine or heroin? That's a very hard one.
Yes.
Portugal did it.
Yes.
The country of Portugal legalized drugs, and they made it so that for the harder drugs like cocaine and heroin, you would have to go into like a clinic and you could test the drugs and you could consume the drugs with medical staff available.
Oh.
Portugal realized there's no way to end this. So let's at least try to make it as safe as possible. And it's a very interesting study. If you want to look into it, you should read about what Portugal did with the legalization of drugs, or at least the decriminalization of drugs, right? It's just my opinion. I don't advocate that people use drugs. Drugs are bad, of course, right? They can harm people. They can kill people. But a lot of the crime that comes from drugs is because they're illegal and people are going to be people. I don't know. That's my opinion, but
Yes, yes, I agree. All right. What do you think of the way to the U.S. press report this story?
I think usually the press exaggerate a little.
exaggerates, okay.
What do you think of the US president's response to this phenomenon?
Well, in the case of Donald Trump, he used the problem for his political benefits. Okay, he he didn't he 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 wasn't serious in and responsible in this great problem in the United States.
Well, I think he was pretty serious. He sent military troops to the border.
Yes, but it for me it was a show. It was a show for his re-election as a president, because his sympathizers need
Sympathizers.
need answer, no? Need, and Donald Trump is a showman, in my opinion. He is not responsible
Okay.
with his,
Good.
in my opinion, personal opinion. What are some of the measures he has taken to deal with the arrival of the caravan?
I forget the the measures.
Yeah. So let's see here. Let's go back just to review real quick.
Sorry.
So one of the things I know, he did. Right. So Donald Trump went to the media. He described the migrants as invaders.
Invaders. Okay.
So that was one of the things that he did. U.S. preparations for the arrival at the border. I know he sent, yeah, here we go.
Okay.
Pentagon has deployed more than 6,000 troops.
Okay.
Troops, tropas, right? Military troops. To the border.
Okay.
And the Trump administration denied asylum to anyone crossing the border illegally, right? So those are some of the things that he did. He was very strict. And then later we saw what he did with separating children from their parents. So those were the things that he did, Claudia.
Okay, thank you. Do you think there are better alternatives to these measures?
Of course. The worst that some president can do is to move military to the border for control the migration, because the military are not prepared to attain this problem. They are for other thing important. They are preparing for the war, for a war, but not preparing for there is a other kind of police in the border, but not the military. The military is the war. No? It's other. And I think what do you think that there are better alternatives? Yes, I think maybe they should be a better communication and support between the two governments, no, for control this problem, no, that affect the United States and affect the people, no, that migrant to the United States. But for example, in the case of my country, in the United States have problem with the dictator in my country, okay? And the United States took measures against my country, okay? I think the president of the United States are right, but these measures are a economic block in my country. Okay, when United States block my country, the economic situation was the worst. Okay, and started the migration to many countries, even United States. Okay, and this is United States is part of the problem and the solution in this kind. Okay.
Yeah,
It's a very complex problem.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Why do you think the immigrants remain so determined despite these supposedly measures?
I think they don't have other way. They need a job. They need a. Oh, they are scared. It's okay. Oh, what do you think?
Oh, is your opinion? Is good.
This is all just conversation and opinions.
Your
There's
opinion.
no right or wrong answers here, Claudia.
Okay. Do you think U.S. immigration police is in need of reform?
Policy, not police, policy.
Policy. Okay.
Yes. If we have a problem right now, then the policy need a reform. No?
Agreed.
What immigration reform would you make if you were president? Then the future president of the United States, Claudia.
If you press, oops. I think I don't know. Is this difficult? It's difficult for the president, I know, but I make reforms for everybody.
All right, guys. So let's finish this up here. Make sure to study the verb be in the past tense.